I want to start out by saying I pray to God that this message resonates with some of my fellow Americans. There's a lot of things that are on my mind that I'm going to share a few of them with you now. They're not in any particular order, and I think they're all important. Give me some feedback. Let me know what your thoughts are. Either post if you're seeing this on my blog down below, or if you're catching this on YouTube, certainly you can post there. I'd love to hear what you think. Let's start a dialogue. First, food for thought. A billion seconds ago, it was 1967. So if you were born in 1967, you're a billion seconds old. A billion minutes ago, Jesus was alive. A billion hours ago, our ancestors were living in the Stone Age. $1 billion ago in the U.S. Treasury was 8 hours and 20 minutes at the rate that Washington is spending taxpayer dollars today. $1 billion ago was 8 hours and 20 minutes. Put that in perspective and replay this if you need to. And people aren't expecting a collapse in our currency. We've got the Fed printing money at $85 trillion a month. And recently, I believe it was Mark Faber came out and said expected to go, well, 85 billion a month, expected to go to $1 trillion a month. There's no way out of that. Even at the level we're at now, I don't see a way out. We're certainly not growing our way out. The United States national debt took 43 presidents from 1789 till 2008 to reach $9 trillion. And don't get me wrong, George Bush was no innocent babe in the woods. He never met a bill he didn't like to spend money on. It has now gone up nearly $8 trillion since the current guy took office. At this pace, this guy's debt alone will exceed the debt racked up by all prior presidents since 1789 in a matter of months. As a matter of fact, with this recent kabuki theater that went on in Washington, where they agreed to extend the discussion on the debt limit, do you know that there was no actual figure put into what the debt limit can rise to by January when they have to agree on it? Now, some people are saying it's going to go to over 20 trillion. It's like giving an open check to the administration. Are you kidding me? And now there are some senators pushing that it would be the administration that will automatically increase the debt limit, and it's up to Congress to vote to stop the debt limit from going up, a vote which, of course, the president could veto, any president that we have, now or in the future. And that means that in order to stop the debt limit from going up, it would take a 2/3 vote of Congress. That, folks, is a direct violation of Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States of America. Does anyone care? Is anyone doing anything about this? Is anyone listening? Is anyone awake? Change happens quickly. I heard this from somebody I have a lot of respect for. In 1943, if you turned to a Jewish person in France or maybe hidden somewhere in Germany and said, within 5 years, not only is this war going to be over, but the Jews, for the first time in 2,000 years, will have regained their homeland and Israel will be established as a recognized state. Do you think that that Jewish person would believe them? Within 5 years from 1943. In 1853, if you were living in the South and you turned to a black slave and said, listen, within 10 years, you're going to be freed by a president representing a party that doesn't even exist yet. Do you think they would have believed you? It's 2013. How much change can occur in the next 5 or 10 years? USA Today on October 25, a report regarding Israel. Iran is within 1 month of enough uranium for an atomic bomb. From Israel, quote, We have made it crystal clear in all possible forms that Israel will not stand by and watch Iran develop weaponry that will put us, the entire Middle East, and eventually the world under an Iranian umbrella of terror, said Danny Danon, Israel's Deputy Defense Minister, as he spoke with USA Today. The Israelis are known to act on their threats. What do you think the next 3 weeks is going to be like? It could be interesting. And are you prepared? Are you positioned for if there's an event and the banks close or the dollar crashes? Have you thought about silver and gold? Have you thought about what you're going to do to protect yourself and your family? Have you thought about emergency provisions? I've posted topics on all of these things. I encourage you to reach out to me. You can reach me on Skype. That's the easiest way, at alan.sills. That's alan.sills. Email me, call me, do something. I'll point you in the right direction on silver and gold. I'll give you some other advice on some things you might want to make sure of that you're prepared for in the possible eventuality that Israel takes action. So what's on the news right now? What is it that's grabbing the headlines? That stupid website, Healthcaregov. And we've got Congress questioning, well, what are we going to do to get it up and running? How does that fix anything? How does getting it up and running fix anything? Does it address the fact that millions of Americans are losing their existing health insurance? Does it address the fact that when they are asked to re-up for health insurance, their rates are going up 50, 100, 200, 300% from what they were? How many people can afford to go from $200 a month to $600 a month? Not many people. Does it address the fact that the entire system might very well have been designed with respect to healthcare.gov in order to collapse so we go into a single payer system? And is that a good thing? If we look only at Medicare as a model, what do we know about Medicare? Well, we know that they reject more requests for treatment and for surgeries than private insurance. So we know that if you're in the Medicare system, your odds of getting treatment are lower than if you've got a private insurer. We also know that more and more doctors are opting out of the system. Even if Obamacare worked and we got millions more insured, how's that going to work out when more and more doctors are bailing out of the system or going into some kind of private concierge system? Not a good situation. Liberty and freedom is really the bottom line. Liberty and freedom is where it's at. I believe it was Franklin who said, I've given you a republic. And I think it was Franklin, if you can keep it. And I believe it was Franklin who said, if you're willing to give up your liberty or your freedom for security, you deserve neither. Correct me if I'm wrong on that quote. It's all off the top of my head. I've got a few notes here that I'm referring to, but I'm not reading from a teleprompter. A few more things that I'm watching that I hope people are aware of and awake about. And you know, maybe by now you think I'm some kind of right-wing nutcase. I'm not even conservative. I'm a constitutionalist. I just believe that the document that was written by our founders is a document worth paying attention to and worth following. I believe there was divine oversight on that document. And I believe that it is not an outdated document. I believe it's a document that addresses the needs of people today as much as it did 230 years ago. I've had people turn to me and say, well, that's such an old document. How can you follow that? Or the founders, they were slave owners. Like that's an immediate condemnation without understanding what the nature of the times was, what the real motivation of the founders was, and what their intent was to do with slavery. They knew there would be a civil war eventually down the road, or they knew there'd be some kind of corrective action in order to free the slaves. So I'm not interested in discussing with anyone who wants to tell me, don't listen to the founders because they were slaveholders. It's just an ignorant argument. I have no time for and no patience for ignorance. I'm originally from New Jersey, so I'm not into that. There are a couple of books I'd encourage you to read. The 5,000 Year Leap, The American Covenant, by Timothy Ballard. I've got links below. You can take a look at them. My links go to Amazon, so you'll get the best price on these books. Did you know, according to the October census report from our own government, that currently there are 101 million people in the workforce? It's kind of a questionable number out of 350 million. But the really concerning number is there are 108 million that are on government assistance. 101 million are working and 108 million are on government assistance. How long can that go on? How long can that situation exist before some kind of collapse? As it is, we're printing money in order to pay for what we don't have the money for. Here's another thought. Gold, and you know I'm a proponent of investing or buying gold and silver. It won't make you wealthy, but it will help you to preserve your wealth. Because what happens when a dollar collapses? Need evidence of it? 2 gold pieces bought a good men's suit in the year 1900. 2 gold pieces will still buy a good men's suit. But in terms of dollars, it was 40 back then. Now it's about 3,000. Think about it. What's happened to the value of the dollar? What's happened to the value of gold? Gold held its value. Gold has held its value for thousands of years. Do you really expect it to be any different going into the next 5, 10, 15? Think about it. And for those who can't swing gold, silver. James Turk says 11 to 12,000 an ounce is fair value in gold. I just got done listening to Jim Sinclair, who said 50,000 an ounce is what gold is going to go to when it's unencumbered. I think he used the word emancipated. But if gold goes to those levels, think about what has to happen to the dollar in order for gold to go to those levels. And then what will the dollar buy? What will a gallon of gas cost you in dollars? Think about that. And by the way, gold and silver would not be my first purchase if I was going to be protecting my family. Think about other things. Maybe I'll put a link down below. You talk about heroes. When I was a kid, I was born in 1958. I got to say, the astronauts, hands down, going to the moon, that was amazing. That was amazing. I remember in my 6th grade class, the teacher brought a little black and white TV in, and we sat there and we watched some of the media reports from the moon. It's amazing. I can also remember in 1969, Tom Seaver and Jerry Koosman and the Miracle Mets, from worst to first, from the end of August to the end of September. That was amazing. Those are heroes. Can't remember too many others. Martin Luther King, maybe. But more recently, Ted Cruz and Mike Lee. Ted Cruz and Mike Lee had the intestinal fortitude and the guts and the backbone to stand up and take it, not only from the Democrats, I'd expect that, but from their own party. Their own party, who is in many ways just as insidious or more insidious than the Democrats. Ted Cruz and Mike Lee are men of principle. They realize what Obamacare is going to do to this country. Look at what we've already seen. Millions of people losing their insurance, this stupid website not working, people not being able to replace the insurance. What do you do if you've got a sick kid? And by the way, that whole argument about pre-existing conditions, group insurance covers most pre-existing conditions. It's estimated that the number of children in this country that are not under group insurance and do have pre-existing conditions is around 8,000 people. Do you not think that in a country of 350 million that is compassionate, that it's possible for the government to create some kind of fund to take care of those people? Are you kidding me? That's where critical thinking comes in. You know, as an educator, when I was a teacher, I used to tell my students I wasn't concerned so much whether you knew the formula for silver nitrate at the end of the course, or you could memorize the density of gold or whatever, or its position on the periodic table. I wanted to know, could you solve problems? Could you solve problems by reading something, understanding what you're reading, identifying what the issues are, identifying what we know, identifying what we're trying to solve for, and then solving for it? That's something I think we need more of in this country. And I understand there are a lot of people that got plenty of common sense and are simply tied up in running their families, in managing their lives, in living day to day, and in fact, living check to check. But we're at a point where we've got a national issue here, and we need to pull together. We need to pull together now, because I'm not sure how much time we have left. I'm not a soothsayer. I have no idea of what's going to happen tonight, tomorrow night, in a week, a month, what the Israelis will do, what the banks will do, what the next shoe will be to drop. I certainly didn't see 2008 coming, at least not when it did. Regarding the immigration issue, that's about to be the next big push in Congress. Does it make any sense to legalize 11 million or 20 or 30 million people who have committed crimes by simply coming to this country? Does it make sense to do that before we secure the border? Wouldn't it make sense to secure the border and then address what we need to do with these people? I'm not proposing sending them all back. That's not realistic either. I'd love to see people normalized, but I'd love to see the problem fixed so we don't have to keep fixing it over and over and over again. For those who know history, they know that Reagan tried this, and he fell and got suckered into it, where he gave millions of people legitimacy, and the Congress at that time, Democratic Congress, said, we'll build a fence. Never got built. How about it, America? Let's do this. How about a return to common sense? I love Thomas Paine's ideas, and I love Glenn Beck's ideas. They both wrote a book called Common Sense, 200 years apart. The good news is that with technology, it's going to be hard to turn this off. You know, MSNBC came out with a report. MSNBC, you know, the government's news channel, came out with a report, a montage of all of the things that the Marxist leader-in-chief, I said it, has lied about. And within hours of them posting it, it got pulled. And then when it got reposted, the most damning paragraph was gone. Then by the next morning, it was pulled and the original was put back. Why? Because the genie is out of the bottle. Because people already know what's going on, and there's no way to shut it down. You'd have to shut down the entire internet, and I wouldn't put it past them. But shy of that, technology ensures that information literally can travel at the speed of light across the country and across the globe. We got to stay connected. And there is a solution. I want to highlight one more book, Mark Levin's Liberty Amendments. Again, look below. There'll be a link. There'll be a little banner for it. It offers a solution, and it offers a realistic solution. Read it. See what it is. And when it comes to the current regime, I still want to know, what about Benghazi? What about the IRS? Who's taking the fall for that? Who's taking the fall for 4 Americans dead in Benghazi? What about the NSA and the fact that now the entire world is mad at us? And what about Fast and Furious? We're not going to let that go. Fast and Furious is a big deal. Benghazi is a bigger deal. The IRS and NSA are also big deals. We the people are entitled to answers. Thank you. Alan Sills, coming to you from Wyoming this week. Have a good one.